good? Mayor, we're ready when you are.
Are you all ready? Yes, sir. Okay. Well, thanks for being here today. Last night we had the opportunity to present the next round of the Vision Funds. Believe it or not, this is round 8, and this is a 5-year plan as we look ahead to the future of Rapid City. And the whole idea with the Vision Funds this time around is to focus the vision to the future. And so that's what this is all about, and we want to make sure that everybody knows at least the plan that's being proposed to the City Council for consideration at the next City Council meeting. Now this input for the Vision Fund has come from a variety of sources. Of course, on the campaign trail, I talked about this quite a bit because we knew that we needed to prioritize the Vision Funds to meet the ever-growing needs of the city and, of course, our essential services and beyond. So we worked to put together a plan with the input. I've heard feedback from City Council members, city staff, constituents and citizens and stakeholders. So this plan is really trying to take all that information and kind of put it into a plan. It's not even exactly the plan I would have, but it's a plan that I think hits a lot of marks in our community while staying true to the original intent of the Vision Fund. And that's really important. And I think I want to start there today. I have a clicker here somewhere. There it is. So we're going to go. We're going to go over here to the ordinance that's on the books right now with regards to the Vision Fund. I think this is important because, this plan's a little different than how we've done things before. But when folks voted this in, and if you don't know the history of the Vision Fund, in 1972, the 2nd cent sales tax, we have 1 cent that goes to the general operations of the city. The 2nd cent was provided for part of that was provided for the Vision Fund back in 1972 that helped pay for the entire monument complex that you see right now. And then in the mid-90s, after that paid off, the citizens had a decision to make whether to continue with the Vision Fund or to let it sunset, and they decided to continue it after several attempts in order to continue to provide for community enhancements. And that's where this ordinance language comes in. Right here, it says the vision account is to finance buildings, infrastructure, facilities that really enhance the community. And so that's what we're thinking about, the things that enhance the community. In recent years, we've seen so many wonderful projects get funded through the Vision Fund. And, part of that challenge is many of those projects are actually private projects and not public projects. And so what we're trying to do is place a greater emphasis on public projects and public needs because this is real taxpayer dollars at work. And so when we're looking ahead, we want to make sure that we're honoring the past as well. And so I'm so grateful that we even have this opportunity to have the Vision Fund. We also know that just a few years ago, maybe a little bit more than that now, we invested as a city. 2/3 of the city said we want to use the Vision Fund to fund the arena. And I hope all of us have seen how impactful the arena has been, the Summit Arena has been to our community. And that is certainly part of this plan as well, because we had to continue to pay the loan on that. And so that'll be part of the Vision Fund as well. So many wonderful and great things. But the question is, do we go for greatness or do we settle for the status quo? And so that's what this is about. It's about going for greatness. I believe this plan will make our community better. And it's a great investment and it's a great shift. And that's what we have up here today. We have some of the slides that outline the plan. But I think it's helpful to even know where it goes to begin with. So this is an interesting comparison. And I'm going to come off the microphone, but you're going to see how other cities handle the 2 cents in sales tax revenue. So 1 cent will go to their general fund. That's how they operate the city. And you see the 2nd cent, for most communities, it goes to their capital improvement plans, our CIP budget is what we call that. But in Rapid City, we do it a little differently. We take a portion of that and we carve out the Vision Fund. And I think that's important to know that this is unique to our community, how we approach this. And so, one idea and probably the most simple thing I probably would have just done on paper is just say, well, let's just do it like that and have that second penny to go to the CIP fund. But that is not what the voters voted in, and I wanted to make sure that we stayed in tune with how that was voted in. And so we are going to honor the Vision Fund, and I think you'll see that this plan really does meet the community enhancement needs that we're talking about. So there are 4 aspects of the plan that I want to highlight with you today. We'll start over here to the right on that first board, and that is community projects, and that's about 25% of the Vision Fund. So $16.4 million of the next 5 years. We have just under $91 million that we're talking about here. But 25% of that will go to community projects, $16.4 million to the arena bond. That's 1/2 of the bond payment. That'll come out of that category. Then we'll have $5 million. That's $1 million each year, or $5 million total, to a community project or 2 or whatever that has a great impact in our community. So we will, as we've done before, bring a citizen committee together and have them recommend impact projects for our community that they believe, really meets the criteria and goals that we have. And then a new item is $1.3 million towards a nonprofit endowment, probably going to be housed at the Black Hills Area Community Foundation. And we've through the Vision Fund invested in a number of nonprofit capital projects, very worthwhile and remarkable projects. But it's tough because we have growing needs, and how much of that can we fund? But one idea that was presented to me was a nonprofit endowment, and we set some money aside that nonprofits can perhaps have matching funds for their capital projects down the road. So this is kind of the seed money to get that going. But that's really the first aspect of that, the community projects. The second part of that, and I'm going to come over here, is the economic development portion. We have two main pieces of that. That's about 23.5% of the Vision Fund. The other half of the arena bond payment will come out of this category, so another $16.4 million to pay for that arena over the next 5 years, and as well as setting aside $5 million in economic development. This has been often the case with Vision Funds. It's outlined in our ordinance that civic improvements, economic development, and other projects will be considered. So that's in line with that, and so we will look at a work plan for economic development for the next 5 years to help fund those activities. And so we set that aside in that category. Now I'm going to come back over here just to keep it interesting. This is where we're starting to kind of you see some real big shifts because 29.5%, nearly 30% of the Vision Fund allotment will go towards comprehensive plan priority projects. That is quite a mouthful. But right now, if you don't know, we are starting the journey of our next 10-year plan. That's the comprehensive plan. This is the roadmap for our community. A lot of stakeholders are involved, a lot of community members, citizens, as well as city council members, city staff will have input into what goes into that comprehensive plan. This really tells the story of where the next decade will go. And it's one thing to have a plan and it kind of be a good guide for you, which is good. But one thing we'd like to do is put real dollars behind some of the goals that are going to come in that plan. And while it won't be possible to fund everything that's in that plan, we can do some really good things. And so we have $26.8 million that we are recommending to be set aside for comprehensive plan implementation. And so this is some examples that I've given. This is by no means a comprehensive list, but these are things that I will certainly be advocating for. Parks and recreation projects. So often the Vision Fund has been used to fund Parks and Rec projects, but they don't always come from the Parks and Recreation Department per se. It's not necessarily according to a plan. Sometimes it is. For example, a wonderful project that here in the next couple of months we'll be doing the ribbon cutting for is the Dinosaur Park improvements. And it's pretty cool because we're going to have people be able to visit Dinosaur Park in a way they haven't been able to before. And I think that's really cool because it's iconic for Rapid City. That would be a project that would easily fit within the comprehensive plan if it wasn't in there already. But Parks and Recreation, they get very little in terms of CIP funding for capital projects. And capital projects is the stuff you build things with. Your general fund funds your operations, how you keep things going. But whenever you have to build or maintain and you have to really invest in hard assets and things like that, that's where the capital projects come in. And so I've instructed Jeff Beegler, our Parks and Recreation Director, to bring some projects forward. It's not ready for prime time into that comprehensive plan. So it's part of a plan, part of a strategy, and that when we go to fund it, we can go back and say this is part of a plan. Another one that I'm going to be advocating for is a public safety training center for law enforcement and firefighters. If you don't know, I mean, they have to train in all sorts of environments because that's the work that they have to operate in. So whether they're inside a building, outside a building, whatever the case may be, they need to be able to have a flexible training center, a place locally where they can do really good training so that they're better prepared to save the day when it counts. And so I had an opportunity to visit Sioux Falls and look at their training center. Incredible. They spent $55 million on theirs. And now theirs does combine some operational stuff into that center. I'm not sure that ours will, so it may not be completely apples to apples. But it did tell me, looking at what we have here, we severely lack on a good training center, physical training, things like that. And it's great when you can have police and fire trained together because you can take buildings, modify them, make them look different, and they're going into situations. I think that would be excellent. So I'll be advocating for that. And the other thing I'll be advocating for, and this doesn't necessarily make headlines, but it should, is a fleet maintenance facility. Our streets department does the best job they can with the resources that they have. Their current facility is just not up to snuff. We spend a lot of money on fleet in Rapid City. We have big equipment, you know, from snow plows to landfill vehicles, even just to vehicles that drive around the city, and we have to maintain those vehicles, and that's millions and millions of dollars. So we need to look at how we're protecting those investments in fleet, how we're maintaining them, and really, and probably even more importantly than the money and resources, is the environment that those folks are working in. And having toured that facility, I recognize that's a big need, and is one that I think would pay off very well for Rapid City in terms of keeping our investments extending longer, and also offering just really good work environments. So that'll be one that I'm hopeful gets in the comprehensive plan one way or the other. And those are just a few. You know, there'll be other stakeholders that have a lot of things, but we need to make sure that when we have things that we want to do, these are some goals, that we actually have money behind it. And that's what we're recommending with this. So it's part of a plan, and a significant part of that as well. And Director Fisher's here if you have questions about the comprehensive plan. We're just getting underway with that plan. I think it'll take the next 18 months to put that together for the next 10 years, and so it'll be good. Finally, something we wanted to do for a long time, but just the ideas have set out there from various council members, mayors, staff members, community members, but a strategic fund revolving fund, or strategic growth revolving fund, excuse me. So that's 22% of the Vision Fund. It's about $20 million of seed money to do proactive development in our community. And if you don't know, right now, we grow whichever way that somebody who has the money and resources says to grow. So they put in the road, water, sewer, infrastructure, and that's where we grow. And that may or may not work well for our community. We would like to have more planned growth as other communities do, but that requires the city to actually front the cost of the installation of infrastructure, and then assess that back as builders and developers come around that, and then that repays that fund, and then that fund can be used for the next area of growth, or the next, you know, priority, I guess, growth area. So we are recommending $20 million. It's a lot of money, but at the same time, it's not a lot of money. So I would say that's seed money, but that could be really game changing for our community. It's something we've talked about doing for a long time. And now I think we actually are going to try to put money behind it and actually make that happen. And that's going to help for healthy growth. And that's what it's all about. We're going to grow. We want to grow in a healthy way, a way that makes sense and that we can maintain and keep up with. And that is what that's all about. So this plan has, again, had a lot of fingerprints on it, had a lot of input on it. But I think it's a great 5-year plan for us, really changes the trajectory of our city, and helps puts us in a better path forward, helps us be healthier and stronger because, as you know, we're fastest growing mid-sized city in the Midwest. That presents opportunities and challenges. When you do not have the resources perhaps other communities have to keep up with that, because much of that the Vision Fund doesn't necessarily go back to city assets, and that's something we've heard a lot of, but we want to make sure it's still enhancing our community. So whether it's the arts and culture that we have at the monument, or whether it's infrastructure improvements that we're going to see with the strategic growth revolving plan or quality of life projects in the comprehensive plan, or the things the community says, you know what, this is a really big deal. You know, maybe it's a new sports facility or whatever the case may be that comes from the community projects. You're trying to really help the entire community be even better. And so that's what this is. It's really up to the council. This is a plan I proposed to them. I've certainly talked about it with them. This has been with a lot of their feedback, to be honest with you. So I'm optimistic that this plan or something close to it will be passed. But I want to make sure that the community knows what we're doing. This is your tax money at work, and I want to make sure that the public's tax money is going back to the public for projects that really help the entire community. So that's what this is all about, and you know, we're excited about this. This is a big deal for our community. It's I think going to be one of the more significant things myself or any of us serving the city will do during this time. And so I'm hopeful that we do this, because I think it really charts a new course and a better path forward. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. Because this is being live streamed, if you could go over to the podium and just announce yourself and ask your question, and I'm happy to do that. I'll of course look at your cameras.
Check. Is that on?
Yeah.
Okay. Mayor, good morning. Dave Kidd, News Center 1. I was wondering if you could expand upon the nonprofit endowment, how you would envision that would be used in the future.
So, you know, I think we'll have to, some of these things we're going to have to, you know, spell it out a little bit more, but I think the endowment, and really what you're doing, you're putting money in, and that endowment's going to collect interest, and that interest, and this is a long-term thing. This is not just a 1.3 million in a short-term project. This is setting up 1.3 million for something that'll live on far beyond me, far beyond everybody else, and hopefully will grow, you know, as rate environments grow. I do anticipate we'll have some sort of matching requirement, some sort of committee. If we work through the foundation, I think that we'll have, you know, various requirements that we've had for other vision projects. So if you're trying to expand your current facility and you need $200,000, then the endowment would say, okay, to qualify, you'd have this checklist, but you're going to have to come up with your 100,000, and we'll pitch in 100,000 for your 200,000, something like that. And so it's one of those that starts off as a seed. It starts off small, but over time it grows and grows and grows. I expect that if that's passed in this form, and again, we'll see, that's one of those that you probably won't see the fruit of for a long time, but we are planting a seed. You know, that is in recognition that a lot of nonprofits have needed to use the Vision Fund. Unfortunately, the city cannot fundraise for our projects where nonprofits can, and it's a challenging environment that I know. And so this was an idea. It was actually not my idea. The idea came from my finance director, Daniel Ainsley. I think it was good. And obviously that was some of the feedback that we had. So we carved out something for them, and hopeful that even the projects that are immediate, that, you know, the community can step up and help with. But in terms of using taxpayer money to fund all of those, we just can't afford to do that. So I think this is something that we can do and could be a real positive down the road.
Is the thought process more of if they need to expand a facility or construct a facility, or is this like money that would also be available towards project support?
Yeah,
or program support?
Good question. Whenever you have these kind of programs, we do not want to provide ongoing operational support to anything. So you're paying your salaries, your bills. That is not what the endowment would be for. It'd be for capital projects. You're building something new, you're expanding. The hard costs on that are verifiable. That's always been the case, at least in recent years with the Vision Fund, that we don't pay for ongoing operational costs out of that. And that certainly, I don't anticipate, you know, people could change the rules long after I'm gone, you know, but that won't last if that's the way it goes. So I think we'll put some requirements in there, little guardrails that it's for capital projects, matching funds, Yeah, and it will be a yet another resource that currently doesn't exist.
And it also seems like the original wording of the ordinance was more towards, if you will, brick and mortar projects. Is that the direction we're trying to get back into with the Vision Fund by doing this?
Yes. So, the Vision Fund that's what it was meant for. It was meant for community enhancement projects. And with the city, sometimes we've taken on projects that have added significant operational costs. And that's a lot to lay on the taxpayers, because it's one thing to build something, it's another thing to keep it going. And whether it's the overhead, the staff, everything that it takes to make something happen. So we've become quite aware of that. And so this is about hard costs. In fact, all of these things, as you'll notice, really have that in mind. There are some programs, obviously the endowment, economic development, and those sorts of things, but we are generally talking about projects. And I think that's important for us. It's really returning to that intention of the program. We've kind of drifted in a lot of territory in the last probably decade. I've been a part of that. I've been a part of 3 vision rounds, great, worthwhile projects, but it's time to refocus our vision.
Tyler Lauder, Kellerland News. Can you just talk about on how some of these ideas come up for like where the direction we're going to go? Is it just internal in-house? Are there public opinion surveys? Like how do we get to where we're going to go?
It's a good question. When you're synthesizing ideas, you're getting a lot of input. For me, this started from my time on city council. We had conversations every vision round amongst the council, the previous mayor, city staff, and a lot of constituents to say, what should the vision funds be used for? And so this is years of acquiring information about what people are looking for. And you can't make everybody happy. Trust me, you can't make everybody happy. But it is about, you're taking these ideas. Like I said, probably on paper, my idea, I've written an op-ed on this. Hey, let's just take the vision fund and put it into CIP. That's generally my starting point. The plan comes together because of input from other people. And I've tried to be flexible, to try to say, well, I hear you. So this was my plan. I hear you, council members. I hear you, citizens. And you have to remember, nobody talked to more citizens of Rapid City in the last year than I have. And from running for mayor to being mayor, I have had a ton of input. I mean, there are people who wanted to get rid of the Vision Fund. Well, we can't do that because we are tied to that Vision Fund because of the arena. We got 27 more years to go. So how do we make the most of that Vision Fund? And we have other people, who have other ideas for that Vision Fund. And so it's trying to take all of those ideas, whether it's constituents out on the road that I've heard from many, many times, to city staff who certainly had great ideas that go into this. The city council members themselves, this is something we've been talking about for a while. And, they don't all agree. Some of this is a blend of ideas, and it's a little bit like, I really wanted the revolving fund. Well, yeah, but I really wanted, parks and rec plans. Well, how do we make all that work? And of course, some of these ideas just kind of came about. We recently started talking about the comprehensive plan, and it just kind of clicked. I said, you know what? A lot of these things that are going to that comp plan are the same kind of things that are vision funds. Why don't we tie that together? So it just kind of clicked. Then I talked to the All-Star team that's behind me here and say, what do you think? And, they give me their feedback. And they certainly all had feedback within the department directors as well. So it's been a collaborative effort to get to this point, because my plan would be a lot simpler. But I think the best point that was made to me was trying to keep in line with the spirit of how this got started in the first place. And so I want to honor that. And so I think this still does honor that. It's a unique approach. But I think it's a way to get us to great, and that's what it's all about.
And talking about the spirit of the Vision Fund, I mean, most people know that, the Civic Center, now Monument, is where it started, and now talking about the arena and everything. In your time working with the Vision Fund, what are some other projects that maybe the general public doesn't actually see, unless you're here, that you've been proud to kind of, work with and everything? Yeah.
Well, I told you, I think my all-time favorite is probably the Dinosaur Park. And I mentioned that already. It's one I'm very proud of. The other thing is we've been able to improve a lot of sports facilities for young people. I think that one's really big because, you know, you're able to add opportunities for young people. We've also added new parks. We're working on one now, the Knollwood Park up on the north side of town. You know, that's come out of the Vision Fund. But that could easily come out of the comprehensive plan as well. So those things are still going to be there. I really like things that invest back into Rapid City. I was a president of the council when the arena got passed, and I give a lot of credit to Mayor Allender for all his work on that. But we had a 9-1 vote on that, and I remember just getting to that point, all that it took, and then our vote got put to a vote, and 2/3 of the city said you made the right vote. Okay, good, you know, and so there's a lot of satisfaction for us who were a part of that back then. We all remember those days, and I think it's been a tremendous asset for our community. But I like things that make us healthier. And, you know, we're getting to the point, as with everybody's budgets, that you have to focus on needs more than wants. And that is something that we have to do. We all have to focus and prioritize. And that's what I heard. That was the mandate I had coming in, was to prioritize. Prioritize public safety, prioritize economic development, because we want to have better paying jobs in our community, which, by the way, we're making great strides on that as well. And then healthy growth. We know this growth and everything that comes with it. How do we do it in a healthy way? So those are some of the projects. I mean, I hate to single out too many of them, because there have been a lot that I'm very proud of, that when I drive by them, I'm very, you know, there is a sense of like, you know, you got to be a part of that. And, you know, we have citizen committees that recommend things, and some things still to come to life. You know, I mean, there have been projects that haven't happened that I wanted to happen. That happens as well, and that's the way it goes. So Rapid City is better because of the Vision Fund, and I'm excited about this because it keeps that moving forward. Humberto, do you have anything? I've talked enough. Any other questions? Did you want to hear from any of the department heads? Okay. Well, I just say this. The next steps is going to the city council for a vote at the next city council meeting. That means it'll go to the Legal and Finance Committee for discussion. You know, council members, you know, probably will have more questions. You know, again, this wasn't sprung on them by surprise. I've been talking about this for months. None of this is a surprise. I think what's a surprise is, okay, finally, are you finally going to present the plan? So I think that's more the thing. So this has been a long time coming, and you know, we're excited about what this does for the future of Rapid City. I think it makes us better, and that's what it's all about. You know, the vision is bright in Rapid City. I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to help guide the direction of the city and move us forward. So if you have no other questions, then thank you for your time. God bless y'all.